your relationship with fear?
Um, Maybe it's like in Cinderella, maybe it's like the ugly stepsister, is that I know that it's there, but it's not something that I like and I don't really acknowledge it.
Hmm. And is fear negative? And if so, why?
Pure fear um, can be a negative because I think it can
Hmm.
paralyze people. And in my experience, when someone is gripped by fear, it really is almost like they can't move. So say, I mean, when you describe that path, there's a lot of things in there, right? And they're kind of all over the map. I get bored very quickly. And so that's been another piece of it, is that I just looked at things and thought, well, this will be interesting because I'm bored where I'm at. And again, if it doesn't work, well, then it's just, something else that I say I tried it. And I think most often in my head, when things maybe were failures, I probably just said, I didn't like it anyway.
Are you afraid of boredom? Is that a fear?
No, it's not a fear. And I say I just don't like it. Um, it gives me low energy, right? I mean, I am such an energetic person. And so when I find myself in a place in life where my energy is low, then I just know I need to find something else to do that. So it's not afraid of it. Again, I just don't like it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it would make sense to sort of not stay where we don't like it, right?
Right. I think so. Yeah.
So it sounds very logical, very simple when we speak about it. However, I bet it's not as simple maybe for many people to sort of free themselves of fear.
Mhm.
You have a unique insight into people's lives as a coach of 20 plus years. What role do you, in your conversations, find that fear plays in people's lives, and how do you approach it in your coaching?
People can be afraid of so many things. And I would say fear of failure is a huge one, of making mistakes. And so oftentimes it's this story, right? That our brain doesn't like a vacuum, and so we make up stories. We have a little bit of information, and so in coaching, I spend a huge amount of time trying to help people, if you will, strip away the story that they've made up, and see what are the actual facts. And that's really helpful. The other thing that I try and do is help people stay in the moment, because what I've learned is that fear is never with you in the moment, because it's not something that you're in, it's something that is out there. Now, it might be out there 5 minutes from now, it might be 2 years from now, but it's always in the future. And so when I can help clients do what they can to just stay in the present and say, so what's here with you now? It's really, really interesting to watch that fear almost melt away and have them say, oh yeah, I'm totally making that up. It's like, well, if you're going to totally make it up, then why don't we totally make up a story about how hugely successful you're going to be? We can't accomplish what we can't picture. And so if I'm going to picture, say yourself in a new position, if I come into this position, I'm timid. I've heard that people that were in the position before failed. I heard that the boss is really rough on people. If I come in with all those stories and I picture myself having that same experience, I kind of set myself up for that experience. Versus if I picture myself of, you know what, I'm different. I've never had this boss. I've never had this role, and I'm going to be wildly successful. And my boss and I are going to have an amazing relationship. It's really incredible then how you start to live out and live toward the picture that you have. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think that you are right when you say, in a sense, you can kind of write your own destiny. Let's take storms, for example. So I grew up in a part of the country where tornadoes are really common. And so when the wind would start to blow, my mom would just freak out and she'd grab me and say, we need to go down to the basement because the storms are coming. And I knew that that was because the way that my grandpa was with her. My father, on the other hand, if he were home, would say, hey, let's go outside and watch it, right? And so genetically, I think that both of those things were there. So I think genetically, I probably was, I don't know, leaning toward maybe somebody who's going to take more chances. I think another thing for me is that I tend to logic my way through things. I do love data. And when I can get myself to a point where I strip out the story or the rumors or the what ifs and just say, okay, what do you actually know? Then there isn't a lot of fear there. So I think that there's a piece here for leaders around, just really looking at yourself and saying what maybe some of your questions, right? What's my relationship with fear? And again, because I think so much fear in business comes from what if we make a mistake? What if we're not the first one to market? What if we lose money? To ask themselves, what's the story that we're putting into our organization? What's the cost of the story, and what's that based on? I think part of that is understanding that there's certain parts of change and transition that really are predictable. And so to your point, it's true. We're all going to go through those transitions in our own way. And I can't map that on a spreadsheet and see how long it's going to take or how much money it's going to cost for every individual. Having said that, we can predict some things, right? And so I think when you know that you have a change coming is to almost map out and say, okay, so where am I at in this journey? And for me, the first thing is to recognize what is it that's going to go away. But for most changes and transitions, we don't think about what's going away until we hit it. Our eyes are all on, what's the new thing and where are we going? I think there's a part about just trying to focus on what you have control over. We get so caught up in all of the stuff out there in the world that we're worried about. And that just doesn't help us, right? So at the end of the day, all I ever have control over is me. How am I going to choose to respond to things? And then just to acknowledge that it is a journey. There's no change we're going to go through that we're just going to get to flip from A to B and it's going to be quick and easy. It's not. Even if it's a fabulous change, it's going to be a journey.